of experience anyway.
I hope so.
That's good.
Even
Okay.
though I always think that person who finished architecture school has probably zero experience, because like the real school, the real architecture school starts in office. So
Mm. They're very different, aren't they?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have that proper conversation now in a minute. So it turns out that when I pressed live, we did go live, and then I cancelled it, and then our 45-second recording went up onto YouTube. Then I deleted it, and now we're going live again. So if we wait a second here, we should show up on YouTube in a minute. There we go. I think we're cooking on here now. So let me
Okay.
see. Yes, we are live. There we go. Fantastic.
Yes. Good.
So we're a little bit early. Um, Ivana, I want to ask you that question again then about what we were just talking about. But before that, I wanted to answer your question. I got an email from a journalist and she wanted to talk about online architecture. And we talked for about an hour and then I forgot all about it. And then I got featured in it like just this month. And it was the printout physical newspaper, which is hilarious. So, yeah, it's cool. I need to order it. I should have a physical copy of it.
yes.
I haven't ordered it yet.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
need to get that and get it framed.
Yeah, famous. But it was hilarious though to be like the head, the face on the website for the day. That was fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm the face of online architecture, at least for
You're
a
the
day
king
anyway.
of architecture, self-proclaimed king
Yeah,
of architecture.
I mean those were your words, not mine.
No, they were your words. You said
You're the
that.
quote self-proclaimed king of architecture. So I was like, that's the quote on my book.
Yeah.
The self-proclaimed king of architecture.
hmm Um,
um,
yeah, so I guess we wait for some people to join. I mean, it's 8 o'clock on the dot.
yeah,
I personally am waiting for our sound manager,
yeah,
Sticks,
sticks. We need
to
sticks.
sign in because Sticks always keeps us right with who sounds too loud, who sounds too quiet.
Um,
So,
I noticed, so Ivana, when we finished the episode, Rebecca being, because I'm the live tech guy, Rebecca is our editor for the reels now. So when she clips up reels, what I noticed was that when we met with Ian a couple of weeks ago, I was watching back some of the reels that we posted this week. And because my old setup, I had a computer to my left and a computer to my right. I look, because the background's cut out, I look super paranoid during the conversation. So I'm just spending the whole time being like, every time someone else is talking, like looking behind me and like looking to the right, and it's like really distracting. So I'm gonna try and just be pretty good now.
I never
Um,
even noticed that, Cahill.
I noticed it today because it was really distracting because you put us on the Sana building
hmm
and everything looks really good except for I just keep freaking out behind me, just looking because I'm looking at chat like the whole time. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I actually have my phone here to keep an eye on chat, so
yeah,
hopefully we get some messages in. But yeah, so I'll guess I'll tell the story about our tech disaster during the week.
yeah. Go for it.
So we use obviously this app, Riverside, to stream. But we also use it to record like our reels for Instagram and
Hmm.
shows if we want to edit them. And Cahill and I logged on and we recorded. Oh, we were doing a presentation for an exhibition that we
Okay.
wanted to showcase in. And we hit record and we did the presentation. We were on the call for like an hour, but we only recorded for maybe 5, 10 minutes. And then an hour later, I had a missed call from Cahill, rang him back, and he says, "Do you know that we were live on YouTube that whole time?" So because it was set up to not only record but go straight to YouTube, it just had went live on YouTube and he happened to be like scrolling on YouTube and found the episode and quickly had to go in and delete it because like we were talking shit about everybody. Like
Yeah, I freaked out because I thought it was the full 1 hour conversation we were
yeah.
having, but obviously it was just a recording of the presentation that we were doing.
hmm
And even that's really embarrassing, but still it was like, oh, what did we say? Did we say anything bad? And it's like, oh, I don't know, it was terrible. But there
Yeah.
was like 10 people watched it and there was like one like. And the like must have been like a sympathy like, because the like must have just been like me and Rebecca being like, here is our presentation. We want you to please let us exhibit our work. Please hire us. We are good
Yeah.
architects. And it was like really embarrassing. And yeah, we live streamed the whole thing. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Cahill's our tech guy, so I blame him.
Yeah. Hello. How many people do we have here? I think we had 5. Just double checking
7.
now. 7. Cool. Ollie is here, a returning friend. Great.
Yes,
Sticks, if
Ollie.
you're here, say hello. We need to know if you can hear us. We need sound support.
Maybe Ollie can be sound tech this
Yeah.
week.
How are our mics tonight, people in the chat? Gilda is here. Welcome. Good evening.
Hi, Gilda.
We'll give it a couple of minutes and then
Mhm.
we can crack on talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
But like we're so excited to have our second guest on the show, which
Mhm.
is clearly Ivana, who looks fantastic and really young compared compared to us. Like I feel really old now that you're on the call,
yeah.
but that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Architecture
Um,
mommy status confirmed. Me and
yeah,
Ivana are just the kids. We're the 2 kids. We're the 2 young ones.
you're literally older than me, so shut up.
Nah, not young is just our age is just a mindset, isn't it, Ivana? Us kids know. We understand it.
I mean, my mental age would be 33, so
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's my actual age, so there you go.
2 architecture mommies in the live here. You can
yay!
clean up after me. You can
Yeah.
clean up after me.
Very good. Okay. And well, I guess Ivani, you could maybe tell us a little bit like about yourself. So where you're from, how you got into architecture. You had a little bit of a career before architecture. Tell us everything.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. So I'm Ivana, originally from Ukraine, from Kiev, capital of Ukraine. I finished my school in Ukraine, and then my friend told me that she would love to study in Germany. And she was like, Ivanka, do you want to join? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I just came to my mom. I said like, well, maybe I have to try like in Germany to study in Germany. She was like, yes, sure, because like my mom is also an architect, and she told me that if you want to study architecture in Ukraine, all professors would be same professors like she had. So it doesn't mean a wonderful architecture study. And she was like, yeah, like if you really want it, I will support you. And so I learned German in 1.5 years. It was harsh, but I really love German language. That's why it was kind of cool for me. And yeah, so after this I had like preparation year because Germany doesn't accept our education system. And then I finished like 4 years of bachelor. It had to be 3, but because of Erasmus I had 1 year longer. Yeah, that was like my architecture way. But before architecture I started like I was always kid with many hobbies. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be an actress, I wanted to be everything. And after I finished my music school, I had too much free time. So I was like, Mom, I think I'm tall enough for modeling. Maybe I can try modeling. And my mom was like, okay. And yeah, my parents told me to apply to do research. Like I was like always on my own and loved to research and to find many opportunities as I could. So I found like some model agencies, and then one model agency told me, oh, I see you everywhere. I see you on Paris Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week and blah blah blah. And of course they put on you this pink glasses and tell you, wow, you are on a fashion week show and so on. So it was like also a really funny and at the same time stressful time, because when you say to a 15 years old girl that you are too fat and this girl is not even an adult, then it's like really hard for mental health and also for normal health.
Mm.
I think I was strong enough to keep like for modeling norms, like it's not normal norms, like for modeling standards to be fit. And I keep like this, and I really achieved. I was in Vogue twice, and Vogue Ukraine, and also in Paris Fashion Week. So I did it, and then I just, I came back to Ukraine. I gained the whole weight that I had at the beginning, and then my agency just kicked me out from website, and I was like, and my mom and my parents were like, Ivanka, you have architecture, go for this. So for this moment, like architecture saved me, but who knew that architecture will also take so much so much energy and time and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Would you say that your experience in that industry prepared you for architecture?
I would say like criticizing for sure, like to get always no, we don't like it, we're not happy with this. But in that case, they don't like you just because how you look. And you can't do anything with this. So if you have this hair or this eyes or this moles, you can't do anything with this. But with architecture, you always think that everything what is about this architecture project, it's you, even though it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. That's so true, because everything, it's like an extension of you. It's your little building baby.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's sometimes very hard to hear that it's crap.
That's so true. Even though sometimes like you get critic, like not me personally, but I heard it when architecture professors just ask you like, are you sure you're good in architect? Like, are you sure you want to be an architect? Like, are you sure you fit in it? Like, it's so already personal. Like, it's so personal already. Like, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, if architecture doesn't work out for me, my plan is to go into modeling. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like,
You have the
I don't-
contacts, Cal.
yeah, I've got contacts. Like, like most of the comments I get on TikTok are really just about the fact that Cal, you should do modeling. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that guy that called you, said you look like Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, I know. And yeah, so so Ivana, my first viral TikTok. Sorry, I think this is going to become future blueprint canon lore now, because I'm going to tell a story on every live show. Because I just have to keep reinforcing the idea that one person in the world said that, and I was like, I'll take it. Someone commented on a video, one of my first ever TikTok videos. It was one of the first comments, and it was like, "Oh, you remind me of Ryan Reynolds," and I liked it, and I wrote something underneath it. Thank you, but I didn't realize that video was about to go viral. It went viral, like it got. I think it had something like 800,000 views now, and it ended up getting like 1,000 comments. And that comment there was a comment underneath that one that said I looked like Ryan Reynolds, and it was like, "Are you blind?" And that comment got like 300 likes, and it just killed my confidence. And it was like, well, it's good to know that I'm not going to be discovered by any talent agencies on TikTok, so I better just know exactly I better be good at what I'm saying, because I'm not here for the model, and that's for sure. Oh well, it's okay. I mean, modeling is a conversation in itself when it comes to architecture. Also terrible at that modeling. Yeah, but there we go.
Samesies.
So Ivana, if I understand correctly, you have completed your degree and you have done a little bit of work. You've done some work placement, and now you're currently looking for another job, and you're based now in Germany.
Yeah.
Where do you want to work? And this is going to tie in really to what I was getting at. And do you have like a dream job in mind, somewhere you'd love to work?
You can put it out into the universe, and something might come back.
They might be watching.
On YouTube.
They might be watching right now.
Dream job to to enjoy the life. I would say like a dream job would be to have some projects, but not like directly connected to architecture, I would say. Like it's somehow connected to interior design and to maybe even furniture creating, or so something in between, somehow connected to architecture, somehow connected to education of architecture, like architecture school. But I wouldn't say that it's directly making floor plans of toilets, as intern usually do.
Mhm. Yeah,
I was
hard
doing it
relate.
as I was doing it as a big architect as well. It's not just an intern thing.
Mhm.
If you're really good at drawing toilets like I am, they make you do it forever, or they try to.
That's a trick. Just be really bad at the things you don't want to do.
You know, someone once told me that, and I thought it was a test because he was trying to get me fired. He was like, "What are you doing at the minute?" I was like, "Door schedules." And he's like, "Do you want to know how you get off door schedules? Do them really badly, and they'll never ask you to do another one." And I was like, "Yeah, but what if they also fire me?" So yeah, it's not for everyone.
You were paranoid, thinking he was trying to get you kicked out.
Yeah. He was
Terrible.
threatened. He was threatened by my beautiful, great looks, my model-esque looks.
By your
Sorry.
Ryan Reynolds-esque presence.
That's it. Sorry, don't mind me. Just putting a Insta story up here quickly.
Yeah, so I guess my question would be like, are you planning on staying in Germany, or do you want to go back to Ukraine or anywhere else?
I would. I can't tell it right now, to be honest. I probably would love to do some projects that are connected with architecture, with Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But physically, I'm not sure that I would love to be there even after war. I think that I mean, I can't tell you what exactly country would it be, but I really love nature and mountains. So so this is my like, where do I see myself as a happy person? Somewhere in mountains, in small
Mm-hmm.
house, creating in studio, creating my stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, that would be my dream life.
Yeah, that's incredible. We actually just got a message in the comments as soon as I asked the question from Gilda saying, "Have you thought about working back in Ukraine?" But your response to that, Ivana, sort of brings me on to the next branch of that question. Was it stressful studying when you knew what was going on back at home? How did that affect your studies?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really a hard time because I was in third semester, and I remember this moment when I had final presentation on 19th of February, and on 24th war started, like full scale war started. And I mean, already, of course, everyone like European knew that something is happening because all journalists and all like newspapers were screaming about this. So I was informing my family like, hey, please maybe come just visit me because my brother has a birthday on 25th. And I was like, come on, just visit me, and hee haha and so on. And all my family were like, no, nothing will happen, come on, just come down. And I was like, no, please, just do this, just at least for 1 week, just visit me. And then it happened. And I mean, of course, even like 2 weeks before war, I already felt like something is weird is happening. After this, I think I put a little bit on pause my study, like mentally, even though I was working still hard. But for me, it was really harsh because I was waiting for my family coming, like for my mom and brother coming to Berlin. And then trying to help, like I was volunteering like 2 months, probably I was volunteering like almost 24/7 in like helping Ukrainians. And I don't know how, honestly I don't know how I managed at the time, because I realized that I have also to work at the same time. And so I found my first internship at the same time. I think like hard times create strong people. And before I think I was already a hardworking person, but like just because of like starting a full scale war, I started to be like a machine, like almost robot. And only after maybe like in July or maybe in August, I realized that I need like a vacation.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was like exactly this time since February. It was really harsh. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question again? And sorry, I appreciate that it's such a sensitive topic that I don't want us to just have to spend the next, hour talking about Ukraine. We can if you'd like to, but we don't have to do that. I'm wondering though, obviously in 2022 there was quite a bit of press about quite a lot of high profile architects. I think Norman Foster in particular, um, somehow getting involved in either rebuilding parts of Ukraine and getting architects involved. And there was a lot of discussion about that, whether or not someone like Norman Foster is the right person. I think in a lot of ways, maybe someone with that amount of power and reputation probably is the right person in a lot of ways. But really, what I'm getting at is, do you think, is there an architectural solution to these types of problems that we're seeing in the world now? And I guess I'm talking about conflict in general in politics. And I don't have the answer to that. It's a pretty high intense question really for a Wednesday night. But I'm just like, do you have a position on that, Ivana, as a young architect? Because I noticed that a lot of what happens in the world often bleeds into architecture schools. And I remember, Rebecca, I don't know if you remember, but the quote, the migrant refugee crisis in the UK became quite a topic for a lot of thesis projects in 2016, 2017. And likewise, I guess, Ivana, what I'm wondering is, do you find that in architecture schools that there's a certain attitude to teaching and a way of working in the context of a war in Europe? Like, have you noticed that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it was like directly like our professors were so fast
Mm,
in like semester ideas, like what kind of project do they want to do this year or this semester. What I realized, for example, all my colleagues at the university, like my like classmates, they were like, Ivanka, let's do a bachelor thesis about this. And I'm
mm,
like, about what? Like, yeah, rebuilding and blah 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 and blah blah. And I realized that we don't have that much theory to work on, because we didn't learn how to, for example, only since the beginning of war, I realized that there is a rule of second wall, that actually like all our apartments in Ukraine, like usually like is everywhere, you plan like you want to be closer to a window, you want to get light and so on, you have bed or you have a table and so on. But this rule of second wall means that actually it's much safer to have bed behind second wall, because it's like keeps you alive, let's say.
mm.
And this is something what I got like on Instagram, like as I know, lifesaver, like cheap life hack. And I just realized that we like German universities were really proactive with this topic, with the Ukrainian war.
Mm.
But what I also think that for some Germans, maybe it was a little bit just like hype word or hype topic. And that's what makes me a little bit because I'm not sure if they go that deep to to research what is really good, what is really not good, because it's not just temporary camp for people.
Mm.
Right now, we are thinking about building bunkers like in Switzerland and so on and so on. So I don't know if Europe is really ready to, like, theoretically and also in practical way to prepare young architects for new architecture, even though it's not the best architecture in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I appreciate, like, I think I probably agree generally. I think, like, because it's obviously not a conflict on the same scale, but Rebecca and I are from Ireland, and obviously Ireland has its own recent history of conflict. And again, like, I mean, you would find it in an architecture school like in Belfast, where the idea of borders just seems to be constant in so many aspects of the projects. And I mean, we're talking about a conflict that was happening, what ended 30 years ago. Um, So for you to be in architecture school as one is ongoing, I was just curious because Rebecca, obviously you teach now, you'd have a better idea than me, but like I've been out of academia for what, 7 years, so I was just curious really, but I don't know if you've seen anything like that, Becky.
I was more thinking of the changes that I've seen living in Belfast.
Mm,
So I've been talking quite recently about there's a real feel of change in the city. It's starting to feel like a real city.
mm-hmm,
At many points, Belfast was sort of competing with cities like London and Paris and sort of all the major cities in Europe. And then all of that was halted by the Troubles. And apparently all of these changes happen in 30 years cycles, which I only learned recently. But because we're post 30 years Troubles, that is why there is a feeling of change in the city. All of a sudden there is investment in infrastructure. We have this huge new train and rail station. Um and there's a real feeling of like, oh, good things can actually happen here. Whereas for ages the mindset was that would never happen in Belfast, you know? And people are starting to visit here as like a tourist destination, which is just shocking to most people who are from here. So yeah, it's really exciting, and it's just sad that something like war can halt a city's, I don't know, growth and I'm trying to say like vibrancy so much. I'm just laughing at the comments here. So Gilda says, please not Norman Foster. And then Ollie says, happy birthday, Norm. All hail Lord Norm. That's a tongue twister.
that's a tricky one.
And then Swigs O'Clock says, at least it's not Peter Eisenman rebuilding Ukraine. It could be worse, guys. Could be worse. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty.
I think Gilda as well. Your last comments there reminded me of something I remember reading about as well. I'm going to leave a link of this in the chat. It's really interesting. But the headline here is Architecture Students in Workshop on Sustainable Recovery of Ukraine. And what led me on to this is I was remembering reading a lot about Robert Mull, who I believe was the head of the CAS in London for a long time. But he was involved in some work with students in regards to the conflict in Ukraine. So I'm just going to summarize here that at the end of January, this was 2024, 26 students from UMIA School of Architecture participated in an international workshop on strategies and methods for the sustainable recovery of Ukraine. The students were on site for 2 weeks in the Polish capital of Warsaw, one of the two host cities for the workshop. I'm going to put a link to that in here now. I just bring that up because I just think it's interesting. I think it is important for architecture schools to address current affairs, even if they're as extreme as they are at the moment, rather than just, talking about Vitruvius or Peter Eisenman or postmodernism or whatever. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm going to leave a link to that here now in the chat for anyone who's interested, but really interesting and good work for sure.
Hi, Elon.
Hello,
Good
hello.
to see you.
Welcome everyone who's here. Thank you for joining.
Mm-hmm.
We have our superstar architect of the week with us here. We have Ivana, who is being very generous with her time tonight, telling us about her journey through fashion into architecture and so on. Sorry, geez, I'm trying to multitask here. I'm just going to put this in the chat.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That was actually really
about Belfast, like when you notice that it's already like started to be invested and so on, do they do this also with like with extra thoughts how it will be like better for like how to say long-term future, or is it just investing just for gentrification and so on and so on?
Yes, well, so the area I mentioned there, the train station, it is a train and bus station that has been delivered to almost its completion, like it's being used at the minute. But that is actually part of a greater project for the city called, I think it's called Weaver's Court or Weaver's Cross, that's it. because it's, it's like WX, like King's Cross is KX in London.
Mhm.
And it's by John McAslan and partners, so like same people who did a lot of King's Cross as well. So it's gonna be called WX, guys. Pretty cool, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, it's part of this huge, like, sort of cityscape vision about making the city more walkable. And it's already had effects like from the new bus and rail station. It's already expedited all these plans for bus lanes or cycle lanes, sorry, and pedestrian walkways and things like that. So it's already pushing the agenda for a very, very car dominated city to make that
Mhm.
switch and to adapt to, I don't know, like what the future should be, which is sustainable living. So these little small changes are seen as these big part of a big master plan. I guess there's a lot existing in Belfast that doesn't work at the minute, but piece by piece, I think it is starting to change, which is really interesting.
Wow, love it. Sounds
Mhm.
really.
Yeah, I'll put in actually a link to the plans because I have them somewhere.
Because we all love plans. We love them.
Just give me plans.
Yeah, just show me the drawing. Stop talking. Show me the drawing.
That's true.
I know.
I'll form my own opinion. I'm an architect. Ivana, I was trying to think about how we first came across your social media content, and if I think I left a comment under one of your videos where you were giving advice to students, and I didn't realize at the time that you were also still technically a student, and I was impressed because the advice you were giving was actually really good. And
Which one?
yeah, exactly, because just before we went live, I wasn't being antisocial. I was literally like, how did we meet? I was like scrolling, and then I realized it's like you have thousands of videos on Instagram. I was like, which video was this? So it must have been 2025. So either Becky sent it to me or I sent it to her. I can't remember. Um, but I guess what I wanted to touch on is what inspired you to make video content, at least in the architecture sort of world that we're all in right now? Like, what pushed you to make videos?
Good question. I started. I started going crazy. No, I started posting something because my bachelor was in Corona time. I didn't have. I didn't meet any people offline. Like my classmates, I saw my classmates probably in second or third semester because Germany was really strict with Corona rules, and so yeah, I started to post some random how I cry during my tutorial of how to learn Archicad, how I don't know, learn in my third language theory of architecture and so on and so on. And because I posted it in the beginning in Ukrainian or Russian, my German classmates were like, I would love to understand you, but I can't do that. And I was so, I don't know, I was so ashamed and I was so afraid of my accent and so on and so on. So it was like really hard time till I started to post something in English or in German. And then it was like TikTok. I don't know, not so many people were posting something on TikTok. And during my first internship, I was like, okay, I will just post some random how I spent like day of Ukrainian intern in Germany in architecture office, and it got many views, but I still was afraid to post something like blah 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 speaking videos. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's time, and then I started to post something like talk videos.
and then it gets addictive, and then you can't stop posting videos, and then it's just all you ever do, because that's what happened with us too. I think it's like, it is crazy. It's like,
actually you both are my example.
yeah, I guess so. But you mean you started way before we started? I think it's brilliant. Like, I mean, we're all, the three of us are talking now, but like, see the amount of people I never knew in architecture that I've met in the last year is just because it's like You know how architects at a party, as if architects ever go to parties, or when they do, they're not good fun. But what I'm getting at is, like, architects at a party will find one another. Does that, like, you can
Hmm.
almost always find another architect somewhere. It's usually the person in the corner, sulking, dressed in black, if it's me. Um, but what I'm getting at is, yeah, but once you start making videos about architecture, you start also finding like people who are sort of just like you in a lot of ways. Like maybe it's a bad thing, but I would say that video content in architecture at the minute is a little bit of a bubble in that we all seem to be sort of motivated by the same thing, and we all
Hmm.
talk about the same thing, and it's usually the state of profession, the per economic opportunities for architects today, and architecture school. And we don't always complain, but like I just find that really interesting that we've all sort of just taken to the same platform and we all talk about the same things. And I don't know, I don't really know where I was going with that, but just that, like, I'm just excited to be chatting with someone who also does the videos, so Rebecca and I don't have to have so much self-doubt whether or not we're being crazy. It's like, oh no, there's more of us, there's a whole ton of us out here. And like, I mean, we're meeting with so many people over the next couple of weeks, other guests and stuff that we're gonna have on, which is exciting. But yeah, like, you're
Hmm.
one of the first that we met, so that's just, it's fun.
Yeah, no, you're doing great stuff. And I feel
Yeah,
like it's really good for students to see another student posting
completely.
because
Yeah,
you'll have a really different experience than Cahill and I had. So yeah, I think we're really enjoying your stuff, and there's a definite difference there between what we're doing and what you're doing, which is fantastic.
yeah.
Um, I'm just looking at the comments there. So Elon says, "Do you think the Belfast Stories project are to feed into that revitalization of the city in a major way?" Yeah, I think so.
I'm
Um,
shaking my head. Sorry, Rebecca. I'm just letting you know I disagree.
I mean, I think that the renders, right, are all to do with pedestrianizing that area. Like I love that building and that sort of space surrounding it, but it's car heavy, so that's a big thing for me. And then also using the upper levels in Belfast city centre is not done. Post another problem from the Troubles, people didn't want to live in the city. And it's using that upper level, so growing Belfast in the vertical way. There's like a rooftop garden proposed as well. And then the whole thing about story and story gathering, Cahill, that's our thing. We love a good story. So why are you hating?
I'm trying to be really careful to not actually hate. Um, oh, I'm gonna sound so miserable. I just think so Elon, I appreciate that your question is like a sincere question, but there is something about seeing that combination of words that I just associate with so many projects in places like Belfast, and I'm just like, don't know, revitalization is just something that I just feel it's a little bit like it's very close to the word sustainable in a lot of ways, where it's like, I don't mean to sound like I'm not, like I don't have faith, but I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it, and if it happens, it'll be quite a few years after it's built. In other words, you know, someday maybe, but I don't know. Just a lot of the images I've seen of the project, it looks like good architecture, but I don't know if it looks like it'll make a good piece of the city. I think they're two different things. Um, Belfast Stories is a project that's very close to my heart, Rebecca. I don't know if you know this, but once upon a time, before there was going to be a building there was going to be a pavilion on that site, and that pavilion was designed by
Now we're
yours.
getting to the
That pavilion
reason.
was signed by yours truly, and this is what it all comes down to. I'm jealous.
Now
I'm jealous that they didn't build my pavilion and they're going to build something
Cahill's
else instead.
Cahill's got the green-eyed monster
No,
here. So let me tell you a little story. Speaking of stories,
yeah,
what year was it, Cahill? Like 3 years ago?
2020. What are we talking about? The same thing? The
Yeah.
competition?
Hmm.
2022.
So in 2022, Cahill won the Young or Early Architects, Young Architects RSUA prize to get his design built in Belfast. And it was on that site, and it was a beautiful design. Beautiful. And he flew over to Belfast from London on the day of the awards, and we were all sort of sitting around in our friend's house. And they got a call from whoever,
Client.
the client, to say it's not happening anymore, but still come to the awards tonight, and you'll still win the award, but it just won't get built.
I was like, but I thought
So
the building was the award.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So now I
No.
realize why you always say that architecture is fake.
No. Well, yeah. Completely 100%. But I also want to preface that. I also want to say, I want it in collaboration with 3 of my really good friends. So we were a team of 4. So yeah, I didn't design the whole thing myself. I mean, I
Mm,
probably could have. Who knows? Don't know. But
okay.
no, that was a while ago. But sorry, but back to the actual original question. Yeah, I just think I'm 34 years old and I'm just jaded. Like I'll believe it when I see it. Images, renders. I mean, it's my bread and butter. It's great,
Hmm.
but they can be deceptive, and there's a lot of that public archy speak and a lot of big development projects now where I'm like, don't know. We'll see. But I think there's a lot of systemic things in Belfast that could be fixed first, like cultural things, like habits, like things in planning and policy first, that I don't think a building is going to solve necessarily. Doesn't mean the building won't be good. Um, but I don't really know. I guess I'm trying to not sit on the fence there with that one. Um,
Hmm.
I think the same concerns apply to planning and development everywhere in the UK. I think it's a UK specific thing.
Mm. I feel like though, whenever you create a like, because Belfast is so small. I don't, Ivana, have you ever been to Belfast?
Not yet.
It's
Well,
amazing. It is actually a great
you
city.
can
It's so
visit
good.
us. You can visit us.
With pleasure.
Well, visit me. Cahill lives in Stockholm. But for a city so small, a single building like that does make such a huge impact and can inspire shift and policy change. So I actually feel like if you like pedestrianizing an area in Belfast is like shocking. So
Mhm.
it happened with the train station, and taxi men and drivers were going absolutely mad because they've never seen it before. It was such a huge inconvenience for them. But now they're used to it, and like, well, I think. But it had to happen. And things like that can change people's mindset about where the city's going and possibility. So it doesn't have to be done policy first. It can be done building first, and then that inspires the policy.
Yeah, I think I have to be honest. I think I'm sentimental for a time that I actually never experienced, which is going to sound very meta and abstract, but I think we all know North Street and what it was. And I just think we're all now very aware of what it is.
Hmm.
And again, like touching back a little bit, like I was pretty confident and bullish when we designed that pavilion that that pavilion would be better than anything would end up ultimately being built on that site. That's probably unfair. It's a really bold thing to say, but that's more to do with just the way architecture generally is developed now. And I do want to believe that that site could be really, really great. Like I do
Hmm.
want to believe that. It's just I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
We'll know. I mean, it's happening one way or another. It's inevitable, right? It's going to happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. Uh,
Cahill's project was called Yellow Box, by the way. If anyone wants to look it up, it's
yeah.
unreal.
Guys,
Unreal.
I'll spoil the fun. If you want to know why it was called Yellow Box, it was because it was a big giant yellow box.
I saw it.
Did you see it? Yeah. Everyone's seen it. I know, like imagine it would have been so good. And you know what was great? It could have been built. It could be built anywhere. Could still be built. Belfast City Council, if you're in there, could still be built. Could still be built. Hit us up. The Swigs see also the retrofit agenda. I mean, yeah, like if I'm reading the tone of your comment correctly, the upside down emoji, which I'm a big fan of. I don't know. I just think it's sometimes it's like I think architecture could be quite simple, and I always say this: like good stuff, I should be able to see it. You don't need to necessarily tell me about it. Like
Mm.
I don't need a whole big fat document of text and words. Sorry, Ivana, what do you think? What is your opinion on this? Like modern new build architecture in big cities? Yay or nay? Do you like the old stuff? Do you like the new stuff?
Oh,
I'm
that's
simplifying it a bit there, but
awa. I mean, for example, I that's what I was talking with you before. Right now in Germany, there is like one movement of people who are obsessed with old architecture that is built like in modern world. And basically, they want to rebuild old architecture from Second World War with new materials and so on and so on. And the thing is not that I'm against it. The thing is that they are against everything modern. So they are hating everything what is modern. And this is not my point of view. Like I accept all styles of architecture, and I just think that it's really hard to build. It's really tasty, you know what I mean? Like tasteful, old but modern architecture. Sometimes usually it looks like Disneyland effect. Like facade is kind of okayish, but then you realize that damn, it looks so cheap. It looks so just like for 1 year maybe.
Yeah.
So that's why I also find that modern, I don't know, like modern urban plans sometimes look really soulless. It's sometimes it happens. But I love when people care about, like, for example, materials that are basically from that region. For example, in Netherlands, it happens quite often because, like, with bricks, you can usually do some really tasteful things. But yeah, that would be my opinion.
We have another question there that you might also be able to answer, Ivana, from Gilda. Not on theme, but can you please recommend some books to understand, oh no, it's Irish history / context, architecture, not necessarily academic literature. And then the next question you'll be able to answer. What was your first disappointment in architecture practice?
Oh,
Well, I was in one. That was my first internship. I was in kind of big firm in Germany, like it's a big one, and I was Well, my first disappointment was that I actually don't have to turn on my hat, like my brain. They just need my hands. That was my first disappointment. But then I realized that that's how hierarchy of architecture firms works, and I have just to accept it till I go on that position where I have this power to decide what windows will we use for this facade. Be my first disappointment, probably.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think that happens everybody at some point. I don't know, Cathal, what was your like biggest disappointment or first disappointment in architecture practice, if you can pick one?
I don't know. I keep thinking about, you know, that meme of the two guys on the bus where one's happy and one's sad. You know
No.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Us young kids get it, okay, Rebecca. The kids in the chat know the
Okay.
meme.
I said it before and I'll say it again. You're older than me.
I'll find it. Maybe I'll find this meme.
Yeah. But it's basically, that's one of my favorite memes, and it's like and it's basically I got a job in architecture, and it's also I got a job in architecture. And I think that's sort of what it was like for me. It was like I was so excited for my first job. And then it was like within a couple of days, I was like, I don't really, this isn't what architecture was to me. This is like an office, and it's a bit boring and a bit sterile. And it's like, well, at least the designs will be good. And then after, yeah, there it is. That was me.
Okay.
That was me as a part one.
Okay.
And then it's like, and then I don't know, like, it's funny, right? Because you get 3 years to develop your own quote. The buzzword is to be process, right? Oh, I have a process. This is my process. And really, your process is really just your bad habits, probably, if you're a student. And like, so like my process was, and Rebecca, you know this because you work so closely with me now. It's like my process is like whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm vibing, like. And if you go through 3 years of architecture school, somewhat being encouraged to think and work that way, and then you go into practice, and it's like, Kel, you can't just do whatever you want. And it's like, why not? This is my process. It's like you're not long for that practice. You know what I mean? So obviously, like, I think that was the biggest disappointment I had was that, and I guess it's a good lesson too, like, because I did eventually grow up. But it's like the biggest disappointment was that, like, it's collaborative. Like, it's not one person's whim or vision. It's you're a tiny part of a huge team of maybe 20 professionals, maybe 5 of them are architects. And we always say this, that's the skill. Like, that's the skill that they can't quite teach you in architecture school, because the structure's not really there for you to do it beyond group projects, which everyone hates anyway. Gilda, you're in the chat. I know you hate group projects. So, like, I think that's what I'm getting at. The disappointment is realizing that it's not what you thought it was. And then for a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's actually better. They love it. And that's
Mm.
good for them. But for me, it was just always quicksand. Like the harder I tried to get out of it, the worse it just pulled me down. And I don't know. So I guess I hope I answered that question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Becky, what
Yeah.
about you?
What about you?
I've been trying to think, like, as you were talking there, I just really can't pin it down to one moment. I guess it would be the whole realizing that a good designer doesn't make a good project architect.
Mm-hmm.
So a person can be a fantastic designer, but they're really poor at managing other people, which is a huge, huge part of being project architect, project lead. In fact, it's the main part. The design might be like 5 to 10% of it, and the rest is managing people and managing deadlines.
Yeah.
And you're not taught that. Obviously, you have deadlines in architecture and you have to manage your time, but people are doing all-nighters all over the place. Like they're not taught to manage their time. So I guess that was quite disappointing, especially because I'm quite a structured worker a lot of the time now. Undergrad was a shit show, and then I got everything together and had processes. So work at whole was like willy-nilly all over the place and like half finishing drawings and being like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like sort of, I'm gonna have this done by this time and this done by this time, and I had like the timetable and the list, and I had like always got a full night's sleep and did all these like processes to make sure I did my best work. So I guess we're different in that regard.
Do you know anyone though who went into practice and was like, "Whoa, this is amazing. Like I hated architecture school, but practice is the best time of my life." Like I'm not joking when I say that. I'm like there must be people who did that, right?
I know people who I saw struggle in architecture school, not
Mm,
struggle because well, they might have failed like a module or two actually over the years, but in practice they've done really, really well.
mm,
Because they're really good at project management, and the higher you go in architecture, you're a project manager. So I have seen that happen, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's interesting, isn't it? But you don't really want to study architecture if you're into project management. Just be a project manager and get more money.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like I see a lot of people sort of in our cohort who's like in a professional context, their stars rising a bit. And it's like, first of all, like amazing, like great, but also I'm like, that's so funny because like when you were a student, you weren't that bothered, you know?
Hmm.
And then some people go into practice and then that 9 to 5 structure is just perfect for them. And it's like, oh, they come alive. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I guess what I'm saying is that like, maybe I peak too soon. That's it. Just that's the lesson. Don't peak too
Yeah,
soon.
that's why we have to come on and like talk to students, Cahill, to
Yeah.
relive our youth.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
still young. What are you talking about? We've
older
already
than me.
established this. Yeah.
Gilda, sorry to answer your question. Any books to understand Irish history or context or architecture? I don't have any books. I've never like read any books. Cahill might have some, but I do have like films, but I'm wondering if they're too one-sided
The films
to
are tough. I was thinking about this question as well, Gilda, because I also would argue that the books all have some sort of angle one way or another. And I think that's probably a good question for like a podcast on itself sometime. Like, is there an objective history of Ireland?
hmm hmm
That's really interesting, isn't it? Someone
Well,
should
no,
write that.
it's yeah. Um yeah,
Um,
I
you know what's
guess.
pretty good if you're interested, and I mean, if anyone in the chat disagrees, fair enough. Michael Collins is a good film. No, but in all honesty, no, but I'm just saying, like, it does explain. It explains the Irish Civil War partition and how Ireland became what it is now. And
Mm,
then, like, I'm just saying, in terms of like an entertaining historical drama with A-list talent, and then like
hmm
agree or disagree with any of the decisions any of the characters make. Like, I'm not here to preach. I'm just
hmm
saying, I do think Michael Collins as a film is a gateway sort of piece of fictional history, whatever way
Yeah.
it's been interpreted. So that's a film.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad how uncultured we are. Like books, like I don't know.
But especially because I don't know about you, Cahill, but whenever I watch a film on history of like the Troubles or Irish freedom, I get really patriotic and Like it sort of
Political? You get all political?
hurts me a little bit inside. Like myself, like I can't watch those types of films anymore. I seen
Mm.
In the Name of the Father again recently, and I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I guess, Gilda, this wasn't your question, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm gonna answer it this way anyway. It's very hard to find films because if you find an American made production about Irish history will always have a political angle. So will a British one, and so will an Irish one. And I think it's like it's very, but maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you just want something that's really hardcore one way or another. And, you know, in that case, just have at it and check them all out and form your own opinion and do your own research and do your own history. But I
Watch
agree.
Dairy Girls.
Dairy Girls. Dairy Girls is probably okay, actually, isn't it? I've never seen
Mhm.
it.
What? And you're from Derry?
Lived it. Lived it.
It's basically a documentary about your life, Cal.
Yeah. When I was at the, biggest Catholic all-girls school
Yeah.
in Derry.
You were the English boy.
Good times. I was not the English boy.
I really
Gilda-
enjoy.
Sorry, go on.
Book of like Irish legends and fairy tales. I mean, this maybe brings some context. I mean, of course, it's not history, but I really love this book. So
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish mythology that informs like stories of today. Stories and mythology in Ireland, like narrative, is really attached to a lot of the projects that we do. So, say for example, you're doing site analysis. So, my students last semester, their site was the biggest sort of loch on the island called Loch Ness, and they were all like referencing this sort of folklore surrounding it. So there's a lot that sort of a giant sort of scooped up the land and threw it over, and that's what created, I think it was Isle of Man. And there's like stories about how a giant took a pee and that's what made the lock. And there's all these sort of mythology surrounding it, but it ends up informing the design, which is really cool. Like it's their site analysis.
I'm just laughing at the Swigs comment. We need the Koreans to make an unbiased film about Belfast.
Yeah.
It just I mean, yeah, just coming back to that again, it's really tough. Like, I think there was a film made a couple of years ago and it took place in London and it starred Jackie Chan versus Pierce Brosnan, who's the leader of the IRA. It's like, what? I don't know. Like, everyone's painted different ways and all these different things. So it's like, if you're an outsider, consume it all. Because you know what? It's really good entertainment at the end of the day. Not to just turn our history into entertainment, but you can learn a lot through entertainment. There was something I was going to say, touching on what you were saying though, Rebecca. We were talking about Cillian Murphy recently. No, Cillian, who's the actor?
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Cillian Murphy. Yeah.
And I think it was him on a podcast talking about how Irish people are incredible storytellers. And I was thinking about that. Like, it's really interesting that he said that because I was like, yeah, a lot of the architects in Ireland who seem to be very successful are very good at talking. And I was just thinking about, like, Ivana, have you experienced that sort of way of communicating in the countries that you've worked? Like, where like the people who are in charge or have the most exciting practices tend to be, people and have ways with words? Because I find that in Ireland that tends to be the case. I don't know, Rebecca, would you agree? Like
storytelling,
presenting, communicating, being persuasive.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like a universal thing. I just
like they are such a good sellers,
Yeah.
Of course, they have great projects, but they are like we say in Ukraine they can sell their own mother. It's really bad comparison. But yeah, sorry. What is your joke?
Love that. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it goes hand in hand with it, doesn't it? People hate that term. You have to be a good salesperson. Even when you're doing your crit in school, you have to sell it. Like, people don't realize that before they stand up. Elon says, "What about the Kneecap movie?" Yes, also the Kneecap movie. I'm going to
know-
see Kneecap.
I haven't seen the Kneecap movie yet, and so my wife's Swedish, and her family are obviously Swedish. That's how it works in Sweden. And they've all seen it, and they all love it. And I'm like, I haven't seen it yet, so I need to get around to watching that. So yeah.
I'm going to see Kneecap and Fontaine's DC in Belfast. So I feel like it's going to be one of those iconic, memorable concerts because there's a lot of press surrounding them at the minute, and it's obviously their home turf. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say they're also playing Glastonbury this summer, aren't they?
If they're allowed into the country.
Interesting.
The Swig says Dairy Girls is the most true to life bits of media I've watched about NI, maybe because as an Englishman I identify strongly with the James character. That's so interesting. Do you live in Northern Ireland, Swigs? Because I do feel like that character that's exactly how he would have been treated if he was in Bel or in Derry at that time. Yeah, the Murphys' new film touched topic of Magdalen laundries in Ireland. I actually know an architect who did his PhD on the Magdalen laundries and on the buildings. Chris Hamill, you can probably find it on the Queen's website. But he did his research all about the buildings from an architect's point of view.
There was a big film about that too, right? Is it Angela's Ashes? Or have I got? Is it?
But you know what? Is it Angela's Ashes? It does it like that's one of the most depressing films.
All these Irish films, eh?
Yeah, Angela's Ashes is just sad.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about.
Elon jealous, that'd be
here.
great. I think there's still tickets, Elon, just saying. Or maybe there isn't. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, so basically we're just talking about
Yeah. Sorry, Ivana,
Irish films.
thanks for joining our Irish Film Club episode tonight.
Yay!
So Ivana, when you're not making content and you're not being an architect, what do you do in your spare time? Do you watch films? Do you read books? What do you do?
Unfortunately, I'm addicted to social media.
Yeah, same. Terminally online. I think if it's the same Swigs, the Swigs accused me this week of being terminally online. No. The article this week said very online, and I shared it, and I think the Swigs hit me up and said asterisk terminally online. I was like, I agree. But yeah.
Classic.
But do you enjoy social media though? Like you enjoy it?
Not really.
No.
I realized that I would create much better and much more while being isolated from social media. Because while I'm on social media, you love to compare yourself. And I'm not talking about, they were there, and so on, or they achieved this. But just because of like what content you are creating, what things you are thinking about, it's everything. Like you said, we are all in the same bubble. So basically, we are all using the same source of information. And I think if I was like isolated from social media, I would rather go to the library to get there some sources and to think more in nature and so on and so on. So I really enjoy that moment when I can just remove my phone for 2, 3, 4 hours and just enjoy conversation or tennis or dancing. So yeah, that's what I do when I'm not in social media.
That's great. And I guess the sort of question that we always try and ask people is when it comes to the future of architecture, considering things like social media, AI, robots, et cetera, exist, what do you think the future blueprint of architecture is? Or isn't? Will architecture exist?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really think that like 60% of architecture can be replaced by AI nowadays.
I sort of think that too.
And only that part, I really like right now I'm thinking about this how you say it, like Kraftwerk. I'm trying to, sorry with my German and English, like everything what was made like handmade,
Craftsmanship.
craftsmanship, exactly. Like I think that will be valuable in the future, and that will be probably like future of maybe not exactly architecture, but maybe we will value more of that thing that no robot and no AI can do.
Do you follow? Do you guys know Dark Studio, the visualization artist?
No.
So I think they're one of the big visualization studios. I think they have an office in Dubai now. Their work's incredible. They did a story post recently, and it was like it was a painting of like an architectural project. It was like a physical painting, and it said something like Dark Studio will no longer be making CGI images. We are now only going to be making traditional hand painted visualizations of your work. And I DM'd straight away and was like, this is amazing. Because the point was like, in the age of AI, everyone's going to be able to do this. So we're just going to go back to our roots. And I DM'd him and was like, this is amazing. This is so exciting. Fantastic. So excited to hear this. And then I realized right after I sent it that it was the 1st of April. It was April Fool's. It was a joke. And the DM, the guy runs, it must be the artist himself, didn't reply until later on that night. He put out a story and was like, I must have received like 200 DMs today from people who actually were excited at this. And he was like, it's not going to be my business, but there's a business idea here for someone who wants to go after it. And it's like, you're right. Like, I do think that physical handcrafted aspect to design might make a comeback, and it might
Mm-hmm.
even be charged at a premium.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Mm-hmm.
good at something with your hands, don't give up. I think that's like most of my takeaway from that.
Yeah, it'll probably be a niche thing like pretty soon.
And be valuable.
So Laura Stella says, considering the importance of selling your work and ideas as an architect in unison to the deeply connected social media world we live in, how do you stand out? So I think
a
the
good
question
question.
is, yeah, about how are you an individual? How do you stand out?
That's for Ivana.
Ivana, yeah.
We're looking at you here.
We want you to answer this.
The teacher asked you a question.
Actually, I realized that I need a little bit of, I don't know, like personal silence or personal, I don't know, like to come back in my cage. No, not cage, but like cave probably. So it sounds it sounds funny and horrible at the same time. Like in the end of June, I'm going to Latvia to do like just 10 days meditation of silence. Like I
Mhm.
won't speak to anyone. I won't look at any person. I will like just 10 hours per day will meditate. And this is something that probably my soul needed. Because yeah, I really like, I agree with what we are talking about, like was that everything what we can do personally with hands is something special, or maybe with minds, but like something personally creating is really special. So honestly, I don't have answer for that wonderful question, but I go back to my roots, to my to nature, to cave, and yeah, try to find out.
Yeah, I guess one thing, Ivana, I always pick up from your videos is how honest you are. So if you're feeling a certain way, if you're fed up with architecture, if you're sort of using a certain program and you want to show people, it's just honestly like it's completely transparent. And I guess that's why people are drawn to your page as well. They can tell that you're genuinely trying to help others and share information, and you're just in there doing architecture and sharing your story, which is great to see.
I also think you're really funny. And I think that's like, no, but I do think that's a superpower that like architects tend to like completely ignore, in the fact that smart people, okay, I've never met an architect who isn't smart. And
Mhm.
smart people tend to be very funny. But for some reason, there's some type of image issue that architects tend to have where you gotta be serious on the internet. You know, you gotta have the like. My favorite thing to do. I show these to my wife all the time. Headshot photographs of architects on their websites crack me up. They're like the funniest thing in the world because they're all the same, black and white. One smiles, one looks to the side. One does the pose, one does the looks off. They're always thinking, never smiling. Like, be funny, like have personality. And sorry, I say that very fully aware of what my YouTube photo is. Okay, so if anyone didn't realize it, that's tongue in cheek. Okay, I don't genuinely. I'm not really doing this.
That's
What I'm-
actually how model agencies work. They don't allow us. They don't allow
Yeah.
us to smile.
But that's interesting, though. Do you not think? Like, do you not think that gives an image and an impression of the profession, both professions in that sense? Obviously, architects smile. I know that, but like, what I'm getting at is there are a lot of architects who make content by being unbelievable architects, and I'm like, fair play. That's how you stand out. That's great. The rest of us, though, like, I don't know. It's like the Wild West, I think. We all have to do different things. Like the three of us here tonight, all three of us have a different style of TikTok video. And I guess what I'm getting at here is potentially an answer to your question, Laura Stala. How do you stand out? It's cringy, but like be yourself. Like, but it's true, right? Like, I've never met an architect who doesn't have an opinion. Share that opinion.
Mm,
If it's your opinion, you can't be wrong.
yeah.
Like, you can't be wrong. Like, don't offend anyone, but like
Mhm.
your opinion will come across passionately,
Try
and people,
not to offend anyone.
yeah, but people will be engaged with what you do. And at the end of the day, like I infamously tried to start my own quote architecture company 2 years ago, like as a traditional practice. And someone said to me, people don't buy people people don't buy from companies, they buy from people. And if your Instagram's just going to be photographs of pretty little images in yellow boxes that never were built, they're
Mhm.
never going to buy from you. They need to know who you are. And it's like, oh, well, when people meet me in person, then people know who I am. And it's like, just share that vibe online.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
think that might be the trick. That might be a way around it.
Mhm.
The Swigs, I've never met an architect that doesn't have an opinion, is one of the most true statements I've ever heard. See what I mean, Laura Stala? That was my opinion. The Swigs agrees. This is engagement. Now I just need 100 more comments and 1,000 more views. And I don't know. I just think there are no dumb architects. There are not. And there are no architects who do not have opinions. So just be yourself. Like, chat, say what you think.
Mhm.
Don't know. Rebecca,
Yeah.
did I ramble? Sorry.
No, I agree. We always talk about sort of personal brand and buying off a person rather than a company or like,
Yeah. Personal brand is going to become one of those terms that's very closely going to be like what was the one I was critical of earlier? Not sustainable.
revitalization.
Yeah, like it is going to become that kind of thing where it's like I do think it's important. I think what it is a thing. I think just the way it's sort of used makes me sort of, I don't know. Personal brand makes it sound like this is my persona. This is the fake me. This is the one I sell to you. Whereas I'm talking like your personality. I guess this comes back to Ivana. It's like, yeah, like you seem to be you on all of your content, and I like that, and that makes it really appealing. And I think that's what everyone should try to do, like try to
Mhm.
be. If you're
Mhm.
faking it, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It's-
I've-
Was word influencer. I hate this word.
Yeah, it's a version of that, isn't it? Like influencer, like I don't know.
Mm.
If anything, de-influencer. That's my strategy, de-influence. Sorry, so I think we're gonna wrap up in a minute or two, unless there's any other questions. Is that right, Rebecca?
Yeah, I was just asking there if there's any final questions in the chat because it's been a fantastic discussion.
Mm.
But the time just flies by. I can't believe we've been on for over an hour.
Yeah.
But if there's no more questions, I guess we can sort of wrap up unless you have any final questions yourself, Cal.
No, I'm all good. I just want to say thanks, Ivana, for coming on and short notice as well. Short notice and long notice because we've planned to do this months ago, and then yesterday I was like, "Hey, can you come on tomorrow?" So this was good.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
grateful,
so much.
Paul. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for wonderful questions. I always I always turn this
I
direction.
told you that's what happens. So when you see the clips, you're going to be like really nervously looking left and right all the time. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
We do have more guests lined up in the coming weeks. We're trying to stick to the Wednesday night schedule. So we will be in touch about that. If you have joined the chat tonight or you're in the live at the minute, do us a favor. If you haven't subscribed or liked the video, please do us a favor. Get us up with a little sub. That would be much appreciated. And I think that's all from me.
Yeah, and then also check out Ivana's Instagram if you don't already follow her.
Absolutely.
She's featured on our stories at the minute. So you can click into her profile and give her a follow as well. Thanks again, Ivana, so much for joining us. That was a
Yep.
great discussion.
And good luck
Thank
with the
you.
job hunt.
Yay!
Just reminded you.
Exciting. All right.
Great. All right, people. Bye-bye.